Hi there, and welcome to the first episode of This Small Town. Now, I'm going to be completely honest, this has turned out completely different than what I had planned because I caught myself committing the big sin of waiting until everything was perfect before starting this channel. I'm not waiting any longer. So, what I'm going to do is just give you a quick intro to myself, and I don't want it to be about me just talking about myself. That's pretty lame, and that holds nothing for you. The reason you should listen to the intro to where I'm from and what I'm about is because it will pertain to you, specifically if you have the same life trajectory that I had. My name is John, and I currently live in the small town of Wiarton, and I just watched a couple of skidoos come down my street to my intersection here. That defines Wiarton. Wiarton is a very small town in Ontario. You might have heard of it through Wiarton Willie, the infamous groundhog who predicts the weather each year. Yes, like that little groundhog down in Pennsylvania. Wiarton is a very distinct town in that it's got a lot going for it in terms of natural beauty. It's in reasonably good shape economically. However, that is going to change over time, and we're going to talk about that a little further in the video. Really quickly about me, and you'll see if maybe this pertains to you. After my father divorced my mother, he and I moved up to this region, and then at 17, he moved us out to this outlying community of Wiarton. So we weren't even inside of the small town of 2000. We were in this outlying community that just had like a row of houses along a street and nothing else. It was basically like living out in the prairie. And for someone who is 17 years old, that was completely the wrong formula at the time. I had other ideas in mind. It was just too boring. So at 17, I packed up my bags, left for the city, and basically lived my entire adult life in urban settings. And then I was 42 years old when I told my significant other that it was time for us to move, which was a little easier for me because, I've got some experience living in a rural community, whereas she had lived in Toronto her entire life. So she went from being a lifelong city baby to suddenly having to deal with winter whiteouts, dense mosquito clouds near bodies of water, all that, just brand new to her. And I'm sure that the story is the same for you if you're watching, because I've encountered many people like us. We leave young, then we come back with different life experiences, different skill sets than what we probably otherwise would have had if we had stayed in those small towns our whole lives. I am starting this channel because one thing's for sure, I am never leaving the small town environment. I currently live in Wiarton, but if we choose to leave Wiarton, which is entirely possible, we are definitely going to be going to another small town. There is just no way I can ever go back to the city. I am far too happy living my life right now, even with, I'll tell you right now, the temperature is minus 17 degrees Celsius. So minus 17 degrees Celsius comes out to 1.4 Fahrenheit. So I don't know if that tells you anything, especially if maybe you've lived your entire life in Arizona. So that doesn't really register, but it is cold as hell outside. Like I mentioned, there's enough snow out that people are snowmobiling down the actual town streets. I've got to go blow the snow out of my driveway again. Yesterday I had to do 2 rounds of snow blowing, and it's pretty ridiculous. So I started this channel because since this is going to be my reality, and if you're watching, probably your reality also, we have to make the best of what we have to work with and keep building from there. So you take Wiarton, which is where I live in, which is a town of, actually at the last census, just under 2,000, because sometimes the population advances by 10 or 15 people and then it just goes backwards by 10 or 15 people. So it never actually grows. And so what that means is essentially here in Wiarton, we are living in a consumerist economy, all right? What that means is, since the majority of adults are baby boomers, and those baby boomers are now retired, they are spending money, but they are not generating any more money. That is a precarious position for all towns to be in as our populations get older, because Wiarton is not exclusive like that. Like the vast majority of adult populations in most small towns across North America are aging. They're baby boomers. Like I mentioned, they're all out of the workforce now. You have a few who are lingering on or they're business owners, but it is largely a consumer economy. And that is very precarious because a eventually those baby boomers will die. They will pass away, and then it's up to the next generations to find a way to carry on these small towns, especially, which is made even that much more challenging because you take Generation X, which is what I belong to, and millennials, and they are not in a position to operate from an exclusively consumerist economy, right? We still have to work. We still have to keep producing. So this is one thing that's a point of concern to me because rural life is very important. Of course, like this is where all the food that powers our nation is grown. It's out in the countryside. So we still need to serve these small communities. Yet these small communities have shrinking economies. Like they're just producing less and producing less. So the way that I make my income in this small town is we have a restaurant, a small restaurant, and we are constantly working on expanding the product and service offers that we have. However, one thing we're finding right now, especially in the winter, because this is our first winter. We launched in March 2025, and now we're experiencing what it's like to go through our first full winter in a small town. And I'm not going to lie, like it is brutal, especially compared to the summer we had, which was an absolute blowout. And that's usually the case with a lot of small towns that have a great tourist economy. But this is very much like what we are seeing here in winter is very much a reflection of what things could look like if a tourist economy starts to die down in the summer. Now, I don't foresee that happening because we are very close by to Toronto. So we get a lot of tourists from Toronto, and we actually did pretty well here in December because we got a lot of tourist traffic, tourists coming up from the city to spend time with their relatives who live up here in a small town. But once again, we don't want to rely exclusively on, the consumer aspect of the economy. We have to find ways to keep building. And that is why I also happen to start a group for small town business owners. So if you happen to be a small town entrepreneur, it doesn't matter what business you run, it can be anything. Go to the description for this video. There will be a link to that community. It's free for you to join. And I hope that you take us up on it because basically it's us all working together to keep finding new and improved ways to keep growing small town economies. I also find that it's vital for us to keep growing these small town communities because let's face it, city life just keeps getting worse. That's what drove me very easily to ditch the city and move here at 42 years of age. It's because, my God, it's like very animalistic in the city these days. I just don't understand how anybody could live there with peace of mind. I really don't. And I know it's not just me. I mean, one of my best friends just did the same thing. He was basically the final holdout in our group of friends to move to a smaller community. So that being said, small towns, in my opinion, very much are a future for North America as it continues to grow, because more and more people will find that the brutal, anonymous existence that is city life will get worse and worse and drive more people out to the outlying communities like the one that I happen to live in. So this is why I started this YouTube channel. This is why I started the community I just mentioned. I think this is a good starting point. I've told you guys what this is all going to be about, and I hope that you keep tuning in. At the time that you're watching this, there are 0 subscribers because this is the first video for this brand new channel. So I hope you'll be one of the pioneers to subscribe to this channel and follow it along as it keeps growing. Thank you very much for the time that you've recorded me so far, and I hope to see you in the next one.